Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Well, here it is, finally. World Chess Championship 2018, Round 1. Fabiano Caruana is the challenger as white. Magnus Carlsen, current world champion, as black. What a hell of a game this was. A little side note, the last time an American played for the Unified Championship was Fischer in 1972. And I remember that summer and fall. I remember distinctly, I was 15 years old, to give you an idea, and next week I'll be 62. So, it's been a while. If you do the math, it comes out, I believe, 46 years. So, holy crow, that's a long time. But here we are, finally, game 1. We'll go through the opening a little bit. It's going to be a Sicilian. Now, this is a Sicilian. I know my guy that teaches here, John Cardinelli, at my chess club. He doesn't care for this variation. G6, bishop takes. Now, normally you play B takes, but Magnus, I think, wanted a little different twist and did D takes. So we'll go through the rest of the opening here. We're not going to go through the theory so much. Get to the meat of the game. Bishop E3, E5, castle, B6. Now this move obviously is part of Fabiano's preparation. I'm looking on the computer off screen. I have a Fritz 13. It's not even the top 3 moves. It likes Queen D2, A4, and Bishop G5. He went Knight H2. Interesting. Must be something he prepared. I think, frankly, what he wants to do is he wants to go F4. Knight F8. Another interesting move, F4, right on cue, pawn takes. Bishop takes, rook takes. These are always the questions as you ask yourself. He decided to play rook takes, and you'll see why. Bishop E6, rook F2, he comes back. H6, queen, that's a really good D2 square there, I'll tell you. That's bearing right down on the position, temporarily stopping black from castling, because that rook is guarding that pawn. Pawn up, he's got to do it. Rook A to F1, Queen D6. Now, John and I, the guy that teaches here, we were watching the game live today, and again, Fabiano's pick isn't in the top 3 moves. Now, you're not saying play like a computer, but this is obviously some kind of preparation he had. He went Knight G4. Magnus castle long. So we have opposite side castling, so this could be fun. Knight F6, put that knight right in there, covering all of these key squares here. Whoops. Here. Not as good as if rook had taken bishop takes, rook D7. It's just not worth the exchange sacrifice to do it. Knight goes to D7. Knight goes back to H5. Now, I think worth considering was knight takes knight on D7. Rook takes and then rook to D1. But he decided to go knight H5. Bishop E5. What to do, what to do? G4. Now you're going to see later down the road that this F pawn of black's is going to be a huge pain in the behind. The computer also liked A3 and then this continuation here, which I don't like at all, frankly, to be honest with you. After G4, F6. B3, just guarding the C4 square. Bishop hits the knight. Now where are you going to put the knight? It can't go anywhere. So you just go rook D1. Knight comes over. Knight takes F6. Knight E6. He gave up the pawn just to open things up. Knight. Bishop takes, pawn takes. Knight f4. What a strong knight that is. Bishop's got to take it. Decisions. G takes is a much better move on the computer. Almost a full point difference. G takes does a lot of things. Opens up this file on his king. This pawn's a pain in the neck. Guards these two squares here. Where's this knight going to go? He's got nowhere to go. And knights are great defenders, as we all know. Rook G2. He's got to guard the file and make space for his knight. Rook comes over. He decided to go here first. Rook takes. Queen takes. Queen e6. Threatening. Here, of course. Hit the queen. Knight goes to f2. He does go rook g8, and the knight goes to g4. Now, right now, it's almost a point advantage for black on the computer off screen. It starts getting really hairy here. Really, really hairy here. This is where precise calculation comes in very much. Now, I want to say we're on move 30. Knight to g4 was white's 30th move. And Fabiano's getting in time trouble. Queen goes back. Queen f3. Looks like it holds position together. He gives up the pawn. Gives it back, I should say. Now king to f2. Interesting. Get him right off the file. Now he's threatening that bishop. And I'll tell you, White would love to get rid of that bishop. But he goes back to c7. Now I think this is where I think Fabiano missed. Pause the video here. He ended up going king e2. But I believe there's a much, much better move. And this is where Fabiano, I think, stumbled. Stop the video and see if you can find it. The move that he missed was, instead of king e2, whoops. After king e2, the move that he missed was e5. We can all see what that does. It opens this up for check. Bishop can't take. The king has to move is the best move. And I think that was pretty good, but he missed that, or he rejected it, one of the two. Queen went to g5. Knight went back to h2. I think he's panicking a little bit here. Here we are, game one, and he's really, really pressed for time. I think he had like 2 minutes left. There's a 30-second increment, and he makes 7 moves. And I'm looking at the computer off screen. King d2, queen f2, a4. I don't like this knight move at all. It is now over a 2.25 point advantage for black. And Fabiano's gotta be sweating this. He's in trouble. h5. What do you do here? This is tough. It's almost zugzwang in a weird way. What do you do? What do you do? Queen f2, queen h1, a4. He went rook f2. Not the best move, not the worst one either. I think he's just in a tough spot. Doesn't know what to do. Queen goes to g1. And of course, we all know knights are marvelous defenders. So now the knight goes to f1. And as we can see, it's guarding some very key squares. And also blocking this queen from coming in. What a great piece that is right now. h4. Not real thrilled with that. Computer likes it. I like the queen backing up back to g7. It's going to get in trouble down there. Either way, when h4, well, who am I to question the world champion? Yeah, right. And this is where it starts getting hairy. This is where he can play e5 again. and he misses it. He plays d2, king to d2. If he had gone e5, bishop takes, queen takes, and it's less than a pawn advantage for black. I think he might be able to survive this because he was in a real bad jam. But after king to d2, king b7, now he's fine. Now it's really tough for Fabiano. Let's see if he can hang on. c3, bishop e5, rook g3 I think was the move, frankly. Knight takes, h-pawn takes, and that could be curtains for white. But Magnus didn't do that. He went bishop e5, king c2, queen g7. Here comes the knight back to h2. Boy, he's eyeballing this square. He'd love to go back there. Bishop takes, queen takes, bishop d4. That's still a strong bishop. Let's see what happens here. Queen checks, king a6, queen takes, rook takes. Basically his only move to save the game. Anything else loses. Rook to e2. And this he can breathe a little bit better on move 44. He got some time back. But I'll tell you, that's a lot of pressure. Here you are, your first world championship. You're playing white against the world champion. The first time an American's played for the combined championship in 46 years. And you were on the, well, excuse my French, you're on the ass end of this game. And you managed to survive it against Magnus Carlsen of all people. Rook g3. He just brings the knight up. Rook takes e5. Now that e-pawn is quite valuable. Rook f3. He just keeps going. e6. The rook has to come back. Might be some subtle moves here, but I think a human move is just push the pawn. He's got to go to e8. This is a very subtle move, but he found it. Knight h6. Does a lot of things. If you go to look here, hits the bishop, can come back here, can go over here. Very nice. h3 decides to push his pawn. Knight goes to f5 anyway. Bishop f6. And this is a really subtle move that John Cardinelli and I are watching today. The guy teaches at my chess club. And Fabiano found it to his credit. a3. Just basically cut off the entrance to the king, or just a pass move. He has to go b5, pawn takes, bishop takes, knight takes. If rook had taken, it's rook takes, knight takes, and of course that loses. h2, rook takes. Now, Magnus played on for quite a while, so we're going to go through that. Now these are really, really tricky. There's a lot of subtleties in these rook endings now. It's going to be a very long game, so I'm going to go through it quickly here. You can go through the subtleties later. King comes up, and Magnus plays on for quite a while. In fact, we're on move 61, and he goes to move 115. So I'm just going to go through it with you. They just maneuver around. Magnus is just looking for an opening. Any little thing he can squeeze out of it. You know how he is. He's a grinder. But this is the way it ended up. Give you an idea. I'm just going through the moves here. Just looking for Fabiano to make a mistake because he was in somewhat time trouble. Now on move 82. And we'll just go through the rest of this here. I'll just go through it quick. Of course, you know what's going to happen here. You know this is going to draw. So I'll just go through it quick here to get to the very end. And the final position was rook a8, move 115 for white, and that's when they called it a draw. Now granted, the last 50 moves or so were just maneuvering around, just trying to get an advantage, because Magnus, I'm not sure if Magnus knew earlier how much better he was doing. He was almost winning or not during the game. It's one of those things. Maybe he knew, maybe he didn't. Fabiano certainly knew he was up against the wall, and you could tell by the way he played. He's pretty nervous for him. But what's going to happen is, if Magnus didn't realize, he's going to go back, and his seconds in the hotel are going to tell him what happened later tonight. It's in London. I'm on the East Coast of the United States, so it's about 5 hours ahead of London time. At the end of the video here, it's also going to show I called in to the St. Louis Chess Club and Scholastic Center live commentary on their YouTube channel. And if you want to see the whole thing with commentary in its entirety, it's certainly on there. And I called and asked a couple of questions. I'm going to add that video in the end. But I'm all excited. Fabiano was up against the wall, and he managed to squirrel out of it. Good for him. Tomorrow is round 2, just the reverse. Magnus is white, Fabiano is black. Waiting 46 years. We're going to see how this goes. Anyway, folks, sorry I haven't done a video in a long time. Sometimes life interferes with your chess. Kind of sucks. But I started a new convenience consignment store. Consignment and thrift store. So some of you see my videos on here, get a look at that. A lot of my time has been putting that together. But here we are. Game 1, World Chess Championship 2018 is in the bag as a draw. And I want you to remember, as I always say, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
Phone call of today in chess. Welcome to the show. Let us know your question.
Hi, you guys. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
How you doing?
John Cordisco from upstate New York. Just wanted to say I'll be 62 next week. And I've been waiting 46 years for this. I have infinite patience, obviously. I'm really excited. This is going to be great. My question was, actually kind of two. What's the format? In other words, the number of games in the tie-break system and like that, if there is one. And I wanted the Oscar's take on the fact that him and I are the two old guys here. So we just wondering what his thoughts were concerning from the old Fischer days of today. And this is the first American. I was just wondering what he thought about it.
Well, thank you very much. Bobby Fischer. First of all, the format. It's 12 games, as mentioned. And my understanding is that in case of a 6-6 tie, that they will be playing 4 rapid games, just as we saw in New York City in 2016. I believe that's the case. But in case of, first of all, it's 12 games. The first player to win 6.5 is the match victor. Match is over as soon as either player clinches 6.5 points by the 12th game.
And that's right. We play 2 games, and then there's a rest day, and you do that until we reach the 12th game, which I think, honestly, I think we're very likely to see the full gamut of games here in this World Championship match, just because the players are so well matched, and also because